Welcome back, lovely viewers. So in this part of the video, we are going to we are going to talk about how to okay, so this is the main objective of this video. In today's video, this is our main objective. Today we are going to create our first Laravel project, and the second thing we are going to do is we are going to create our table and our models. So that is the main objective for today. And actually, you cannot create a table without having a database. We are going to have our database also as well, right? All right. So I hope you are doing very great, and I'm also doing great myself. All right. So let's get on with it already. So to create your Laravel project, I'm sure by now you all have downloaded all the tools we need to have to complete this beautiful project. So I would want you to open your file explorer, like open any directory you want, like any folder, create a full folder for this entire project. Yeah. So I would want you to start your XAMPP controller first. So if you can recall, I showed you guys how to start your XAMPP controller. All you got to do is you right click and then you run it as an administrator. Then you start the Apache and the MySQL and you're good to go. So you make sure that you start the XAMPP server before you start whatever I'm coming to start now. I'm about to start now. All right, so you right click in the main folder you want to have your this SMS web application in, and you would want to right click and press the open in terminal. So you wait for some time while the terminal opens. All right, so my terminal has opened. So what you have to do now is I will want you to CLS. That means clear the terminal. Yes. So after you CLS, I would want you to run this command. All right. So pay closely attention to what I'm about to write, because this is the command that we use to run our we use to start our Laravel, to install all the needed folders that are needed to help or run the framework, right? Okay, so you can start typing. So in here, you're going to type composer create Laravel, Laravel, and you give the name of the Laravel project, like the name you want to give to the project. So me, I'm just going to name it. And bear in mind, the naming conventions is very important. So you can be using the camel case on the or the underscore, but then you shouldn't leave space between the naming, right? Okay, so let me use the camel casing. So I'm just going to call it SMS web app, web app. This I'm going to name my press enter, and let's give it some time as we it starts installing all the needed. Okay, so now um we successfully installed our Laravel framework. So what you would want to do now is you would want to close here and go to the folder in which you picked your terminal from. So this is the name that we gave to the project, SMS web app. So what I would want you to do is I would want you to open to any of your favorite text editor. For me, I'm going to use the Visual Studio Code, the Microsoft Visual Studio Code. Okay. So what you would want to do is you would want to drag and drop the folder that we just created into your text editor. Yes. So that's what you have. Alright, so this is what you are going to have now. Okay, so I would want us to run our first Laravel project to see how each and everything works. Okay, so in here in your VS Code, I would want you to go to your file, and the file you're going to choose not file. I think it's in the view. All right, so you go to your file, the menu bar here, and you are going to look for the view, right, or terminal. So you can start a new terminal here, and you're going to get this. So there are some few commands that, as a PHP level programmer, you would have to know on your fingertips. More like the PHP artisan self, PHP artisan config, PHP artisan optimize, and other commands. So as time goes on, I would walk you through majority and the most needed commands. Okay, so for us to start our Laravel project, what we need to do is, I hope you've already turned on the necessary things that I recommended. Yeah, that I recommended you to turn on. Okay, so what you would want to do now is you would want to just type your PHP artisan, then save. Yeah, so when you press your PHP artisan save, it's going to give you the port at which the server is running at. So you can just hover on this, and on your Windows machine, you press the control plus your left click, and it will open your default browser for you that has the code here. All right, so this is your first view when you start your Laravel project at the first time. So that's what you're going to see. So now let's check our Laravel version. So in order to extend your terminal, you can press on this plus symbol and you get another point to be working at. You get another space. Alright, so let's check our Laravel version that we have installed. So you can check your Laravel version by typing composer version. Not composer, it's Laravel version, not this. Yeah, so Laravel installer. Okay, it's giving me the Laravel installer better than we want there. So you will type this command PHP artisan and the version. Alright, so now you realize that we are running on the Laravel framework 10.18.0. So I think if you follow my steps carefully, you would also be running on this particular Laravel version. Alright, so let's go to our node to see what we would do. So initially we wanted to create our Laravel project, which we have successfully created. Alright, so let's talk about database and how to create database and tables and models and what they are. I would want to explain everything in details here. So in Laravel, a database is like a smart storage space where your web app keeps its information. Alright, so you can imagine it being a big organized cabinet with drawers which house your data, if you understand me. Okay, like so Laravel database is more like it's more like a cabinet. It just keeps records. You can be keeping your, it's more like any other database that you've heard of. So Laravel database features help you to organize, manage, and get the information you need from your app storage space, just like arranging things in the cabinet so you find them easier. Yeah, so that's basically a simple explanation about Laravel database. Yeah, how you should get to understand the Laravel database. So in order for you to create your Laravel database, I would want you to, I think you all have a little bit of background about PHP. If you don't worry. This project is actually for beginners. It's beginner friendly. So you want to go to your XAMPP control panel, and in your MySQL, you want to select the admin, and it's going to open your admin dashboard, right? So this is your PHP admin. Okay, so you want to choose to create a new database. So in here, you're going to give it a name. I'm going to give it SMS web app. So you would want to copy this name that you've created, and in here, you're going to select the collection, and press your create button. So guess what? You don't have to create You don't have to come down here to be creating the database manually here. No, no, no. In Lava, we have something we call migrations. So, what are migrations? What comes into your head when you hear the word migration? So, migrations are a way to manage database schema changes in various manner. With migration, you can create, update, or delete database data tables and columns in a more structured way. More like, yeah. So when you come to a schema builder, I will explain that. But then, yeah, I'll explain that. So right now, let's just focus on the migration, how we can migrate our tables into our database. So when you come down here, you get to realize that we spoke about we creating a database, and now we have successfully created our database. So now let's talk about how we can create our tables, right? Let's talk about how we are going to create our tables. So in creating our tables, what you would want to do is you would want to create a migration, right? You want to create a migration. Okay. So in our project, we are going to have one table at the moment that is going to handle the members, right? Okay. So let's continue. Then here you will want to type this command: PHP artisan make migration, and you give the name of the migration. So you give the name of the table, you give it a name, you give your table a name. So in our situation, in my case, I would want to name it members. Members. All right, so you can see that we've successfully created our table, right? So if you want to see your table, you want to route or navigate to the database, and you can see migrations. So when you scroll down here, you can see the new table that we just created. So this is the new table that we just created, right? Okay. Okay, so let's go to our notes and see something. Now we've successfully created our table. So let's talk about how to create our model. So you might ask yourself, what are models? So certainly in Laravel, a model is like a digital assistant for your database. It represents a specific type of information like user, product, etc., and helps you to talk to your database in a more organized way. It knows how to create, read, update, and delete data, as well as follow rules and relationships you define. Think of a model as your helper for handling data related tasks in your web app. Yes. So that's how it is. Yeah. I hope you understand what I've just explained. Please, if you don't understand anything, I'll be happy to assist you. Just comment it out and I'll give you feedback immediately. All right, so let's create our columns for our members table. So what you would want to do is you would want to create a list of columns for the member table. So bear along with me as we continue. Yeah. So you might ask, why am I writing the schema? I will explain it shortly. I will explain it. So here we just give the name of the database, the table rather, sorry, just members. Yeah. Keep going. All right, so a schema, this is a schema builder. So in Laravel, schema provides a fluent and a programmatic way to define database schemas using the PHP code. So basically, this allows you to create the tables, define columns, set constraints, and etc. Yeah, so there's the purpose of the schema, right? So let's create our columns, as I said earlier on. So in here we'll have our table. We want to create our ID, which will be our primary key. We want to create a, so in here you are going to state the data type. So I'm going to write a string that we are going to have the column name is going to be the name, right? And in here I'm going to have the table and give the data type, which is a string as well. And right. So when you come down here, we have enum. So enum is like multiple selection, right? So in our enum we want the row. In a row we want it in an array, right? So it will be an array of what? As I said earlier on, mine is purposely for a church, so it depends on your organization. You can choose to select the rows based on your organization, right? So new member, um, let me use the media people, media, right? Okay, so let's go down to, we want to add the date the user joined the church, right? So here it's also going to be string. You might ask yourself, date with date, why don't we use the date data type? But then we are going to fetch the date as a string, yeah, to make it much more simple, to prevent any other additional codes, right? Okay, so you add a joined at the date the user joined the church, right? So you've successfully created your table. Okay, so you might ask yourself, how do we link our table to our database? How do we link our table to our database? That's what you might ask yourself. So in here, to be able to link your table, the migrations, I'm sorry, being able to link your migration to your table, the database you just created, you would want to go to your .env file, and in the .env file, you come down here where we have your database connection, the host name and database username and whatever. So you would want to change this database name to the database we just created here, not the SMS web app. So you copy this and you put it here. So you initially, my XAMPP server has no password and no username, so I'll maintain the root and keep the password field empty. Okay, so now that you are done with this, I would want you to run another command, which is PHP artisan migrate, to migrate whatever changes that you've done there. So you can see I have no error. I've successfully migrated the records into the database. When you press here, you can see the new table that I just created, which is called members. It has been created successfully, and you see the column that I assigned it to, the ID, the name, the number, and the row, and the join that. All right, so congratulations to yourself. You have been able to create a table and a database in Laravel. All right, so let's go to the next task. So in the next task, we are talking about how to create a model. All right, so as I explained earlier on, that models are like a digital assistant for your database, and more like a representation of the database, right? Okay, so this is how you create your model also. So in order for you to create your model, you go to your terminal again and run this command. And I'm going to name my member model. members model. It depends on what you are going to use the system for. Alright, so my model has been created successfully. So for me to check where my model is, I would want to navigate to the app and go down to models, and I'm going to see the new model that I just created. So for me to be able to link my model to the database, the table, I would want to run this command also. Just write this work of code protected and give this table and assign it to this table, right? The table that we just created, I want to assign it to this table. Okay. All right, so you would want to put this. Okay, so now that we've we've successfully linked our model to our member table. So what you want to do now is we want to give the structure of the table. So we just write this command also. So as I said earlier on, the model is more like a representation of the database. So you will need everything that is present here, every column that is here to be present in the model. So realize that we have our name, and we have our number, we have our joined at, and we have what again, the rule, right? The rule. Okay. So yeah. So these are the four records that we have in our table. Okay, so congratulations once again, you've been able to create your model. Yeah, you've been able to create your model successfully. All right, so let's try to seed something into the database to see if what we are doing is really connected. Okay, all right. So this is how you seed into your database. You will want to go to the terminal again and create a seeder. So you might ask yourself, what is a seeder? All right, so in Laravel, database seeding means filling your database with example data, right? So more like a dummy record. So we want to just insert dummy records inside the database to see if everything is working fine. So you would want to come to your terminal and type PHP artisan make seeder, and you give the name of your seeder. For me, I would want to name it member seeder, right? Okay, so I've successfully created my seeder. All right, so now we would have to navigate to where we have our seeder. So you can find the seeder in the database folder down beneath the seeder. Right, so you can see our new seeder that we just created. So in here, you'd want to write this block of code. Just type db, and you have your table, the name of the table, right? And you use the insert method. Insert method and contact. Okay, so now you have to import your DB. If you don't have this extension installed, you just have to write this block of code, this one, and you are good to go. Okay. All right. So now that we want to seed into our database, we want to give it a dummy record, right? So in here, when you come down here, I'm sorry. So down here, you would see that this particular table, that is members, has a name, right? So member has a name. So initially we want to give member name. Let's make it crazy. You can give it any name that you want it to have. Okay, you see the number, right? The number, you can put any dummy number there just for testing, right? And then here you are asked to join at go to the product today. Please don't forget to bring leave your comma. Okay, so now that we have this, let's add a row to it, and you're able to go row. This, this will be a pasta. Okay, so let's save it. All right, so now that we've successfully written our code or the dummy record, we want to seed it into our database. Let's run it. So let's seed it into it. So in order for you to seed into it, we want to write this block of code. PHP, then write this db. See, then you specify the class. The class is what is called a member seeder. Okay, so you've successfully seeded into our database. So let's go and check our database to see if everything is working perfectly fine. So we refresh the browser, and you can see that we've successfully inserted a dummy record into our database, and everything is working perfectly fine. So congratulations to you. I hope you learned something new today. Please comment out in the video description so that I know something new you learned today. All right, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Thank you very much.